Hello, hello, Composing Gloves here, and today we are going to be talking about, Unison, finally. So what is Unison? Unison generates real voices, meaning if you put a key down, right now it's generating one voice. We can put it up, and it will generate 4 copies of that same thing, but it does it with slight variations. This is very similar to chorus. However, Unison, as we talked about earlier, many times actually, has its own special mapping parameters that you can map these things to. So it's a very powerful tool. Now, one of the things about Unison that you need to be aware of is that when it generates this voice, it gets cloned for every note that you hit. So as you turn more things on, more voices are generated and you get a lot of voices pretty quick. So what this means is it's got to go through all the processing of each one of these individual things. And it just eats your CPU if you're not using specialized parameters, because operator 1 could be doing something different than 2, and it becomes a mess very quickly. So hopefully you could see you want to use this moderately if you're going for a particular kind of effect, and then or maybe just because you've never used it and now you're scared to use it. So maybe you should use it just to overcome that. But then you want to use chorus whenever for anything else that's not like specialized effects for Unison, because chorus could do very similar things. For example, it's got a panning. It takes each of those voices and pans it in the field. I have portamento on. And we have a volume, so the volume of these voices. And then over here we have an oscillator button. What does this do? Well, it will merge all your stuff. So if you have Unison voices in a spread, they go through individual filter paths, and as a result, you use a lot more CPU because it's got to computate it for every single individual path it's traveling through. So one way to save that is to sum it down to mono. However, that often kills the effect that you're looking for. However, it does save a substantial amount of CPU. So it's up to you if you want to use that. Because then you have to regenerate your spread all over again. And most of the time I'm coming here for the spread. But again, you might be mapping particular things a certain way. So it wouldn't matter if it's in stereo for you at that particular stage. You might go through several stages of stereo, mono. I don't know. Just each patch is a little different. So again, we have the panning, volume, the unison pitch. And so we can control the amount of pitch variation between each voice. We have sub. So we can make them lower. We can have some be lower and some be higher. And so we can pitch down some of them an octave from where we are. That may or not be something you want. I'm clipping. Sounds like some sort of messed up old organ. So, okay, and then we have our unison phase. So we can control the phase relationship between all the voices if we want them to start a particular way. Or you can come down a little bit. See how it sounded like it was in my left ear at first. Just put my hand in front of there. I wonder if that changed, how much that changed the sound. Okay, so it just came in my left ear, but when I moved the phase, the relationships changed and it sounded more centered. Versus it changes position. That sounds really like it's in this ear. The click does. But I can hear it in both ears. It's just phase relationships matter a lot. And this just starts them all in phase. Okay, cool. And then we have our envelope variation. So you may go through and set up envelopes, and each envelope might have a different global setting. And global setting, of course, takes all of the voices and will sync them up and make it so that the phase relationships remain as they were. As you can see, this gets quite complicated here because we might be messing with the phase here. So yeah, it gets pretty crazy if you're really trying to be deliberate about what you're doing. And on Unison, we can set up envelopes to control various parameters, and the Unison that comes through here, this has nothing to do with that. I don't know why I keep clicking on it. But we have different envelopes, and we can make the Unison voices respond slightly differently to those envelopes. So we could have each of the 4 voices respond slightly differently so we get more of a spread. So, and then if you don't want it to respond differently, you just turn it off. So that's pretty cool. That's Unison. That's all it is. It's not that crazy or complicated. It's just a really, really fancy chorus effect, essentially, without it being clones and it generating its own voices and yada yada. You know what I'm saying? So if you have any questions about that, let me know. Subscribe and have a blessed day.